want to talk about the Bengals and Ravens game at some point, because it's basically stakes and storylines on the playoffs. And we'll talk about the AFC playoff picture a little bit. So do we want to go there?
At some point? Well, let's make it this point then. Yes, let's talk about the Bengals. Let's talk about the Ravens. A very important game in the AFC North between these teams. Did we think we'd be here when we started the season? Did we think the Ravens were going to run away with it? Our preseason predictions, respectively, would probably reflect that. I think I had the Ravens as a 13-win team, and injuries just continued to destabilize them as the season progressed. And the Bengals, I thought that would be a nice story at the start of the year. I had them as a 7-win projection. And then you start seeing the team start to pick up there. You start to see them go head-to-head against the Packers and have a good game, beat a good team like the Ravens, beat the hell out of the Steelers twice. And then you're like, okay, the Bengals are actually just a good team this year. And now, as it stands here today, they are currently leading the AFC North. So it's on the Ravens to go into this game, go into Cincinnati to take back the division. They are entering as 4.5-point underdogs. And as of this recording, because obviously when we have a huge injury situation like this, it is important to state we are recording here on a Wednesday. We don't know if Lamar is going to play at this time. Could be another week of Tyler Huntley. And to his credit, Tyler Huntley may be earning himself a contract in the future. Tyler Huntley may be earning himself a place with another team, given his success against the Packers, given his success against the Browns late in that game. Another big storyline and a big thing that's been talked about on every mainstream platform this week has been John Harbaugh, analytics-based approaches. The fact that 2 of the Ravens' last 3 losses, now that the Ravens are on a 3-game slide, were because of the decision to go for a late 2-point conversion rather than just take the automatic extra point with Justin Tucker. I don't disagree with John Harbaugh going for it, though. You know, I know the fans hate it now, but there is not a single fan in most audiences, 99%, that doesn't say, let's go for it, guys. Come on, buckle down. Let's go for it. We got this. We got them reeling. We got them on their back foot. Let's take them out. I just disagree with maybe the play calling. Maybe just rolling out that rollout pass to Mark Andrews just isn't the move for them at this point. I think if the Ravens are going to make those bold approaches, they should maybe be a little bit more dynamic. But it's one of those things that's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're a genius when it works and you're an idiot when it fails. Whenever they did it against the Chiefs early in the year, who was the first to post those Randy Marsh, big balls, Baltimore Ravens memes? Us. And it's because he earned it at the time. But when you lose, you're just the village idiot.
I will not give life to the people who want to argue that they should not have gone for it in that situation, because as soon as they scored the touchdown, I'm sitting by my TV and saying, go for 2. Of course, like just watching the game, it's so obvious to see that they should go for 2 in that situation because they're not supposed to be here. They were 10-point underdogs against the Green Bay Packers. They were down 14 like 8 minutes ago and stormed all the way back.
Yeah. And let's look at John Harbaugh's explanations for both times that he's went for it in those situations. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were down to their very last cornerback. In fact, going into this game, the Ravens don't have a single person in their defensive backfield that they started the year with. That's how depleted the Baltimore Ravens secondary is. So against the Steelers, they were really reeling after Marlon Humphreys went down in that game. Fast forward to this week, as a Niners fan who saw it in week 4, Aaron Rodgers with time, if you give Aaron Rodgers a chance late, it can bite you in the ass. So
not
if you
only
have a chance
that,
to
Aaron
win
Rodgers
it there
could
and
have
then,
also gotten the ball first in overtime.
yes, if you got the ball first in overtime and you factor in your porous secondary against one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, is that really a gamble you want to take? I'd rather take the chance of my team locking down and gaining 2 yards because my team has been scoring points consistently throughout this game. I'd rather take 2-yard chance than going against one of the greatest of all time quarterbacks when I'm starting Kyle Ledbetter at safety and Julian Martinez at starting corner.
Yeah, so this is classic game theory is what we're talking about here. Is do you just play it out as long as you can and try and improve your odds, or do you just skip to the end result as quickly as possible? I like to often play the end result as quickly as possible myself when doing this game theory analysis. Like, I know where this is going. I think my odds are pretty good right now. Let's play it out as we go. So just quickly evaluating your odds and realizing what it is. John Harbaugh said afterwards, If you look at the numbers, going for 2 was maybe a better call. Like he had no idea what the numbers say there. He does the thing every time where he goes to Lamar and he's like, what do you want to do? And Lamar's like, I want to go for it. And they're like, let's go for it.
The player always wants to go for it. The fans always want to go for it. And it's only when it doesn't work that everyone hates the idea of going for it.
Yeah, because remember, they went for 2 at the end of the game against the Chiefs early on in the season.
What we said. Big balls, Randy Marsh, John Harbaugh.
Yeah, and it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, like you say. Let's move on to talking about the Bengals a little bit, because I said I didn't want to talk about going for 2 and give breath of life to this conversation, because of course they should have gone for 2 there. I've watched enough football to know you should go for 2 in that situation. The AFC playoff picture looks like an insane jumble of chaos right now, because seeds 4 through 13 have either 7 or 8 wins right now. It's actually not as complicated as people think it is. It looks chaotic right now, but it's not as complicated as you think. The only reason it looks complicated is because the AFC West and AFC North, all of their teams have at least 7 wins. The reason that's the case is because the AFC West played the NFC East this year. The NFC East is a big load of crap. The NFC North, outside of the Packers, is a gigantic load of crap. And so they just kept beating up on all those other teams because the teams in that division are terrible. And what's going to happen in the AFC, I'll put this out here and I will put my stamp on this because I've talked about it multiple times on Take It Easy. I think I might have mentioned it off the top here a little bit. Here's what's going to happen in the AFC. The Chiefs are going to be the 1 seed. The Patriots are going to win their division, most likely. We'll talk about that game in a sec. If not, Buffalo's going to be in there. You're going to have the Titans win the AFC South, even though no one wants them to win it. They're going to win it. It's just going to happen. We're all going to have to deal with it. No one's happy about it, but we're just going to have to accept that the Titans are going to host a playoff game. The Bills are going to be the 5 seed. And if they're not the 5 seed, it's because they'll be the 6 seed. The Colts are going to make the playoffs, and the Chargers are going to be the 7 seed. And then one team from the AFC North is going to make the playoffs. And it'll probably be whoever wins this football game, which I will say is going to be the Bengals if Lamar Jackson does not play, and it's going to be the Ravens if Lamar Jackson does play. That is the pick I'm going to lay down here. If you're going to make me put it down, I think the odds are more likely Lamar doesn't play, so I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals to win this week. And if Lamar Jackson plays, I would like to reserve the right to say that I called it if the Ravens win and Lamar plays, but I will take the Cincinnati Bengals.
Motion denied.
I'll take the Bengals to win, even though it's weird that the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. But fun fact, 16 of the last 18 years in the NFL, a team has gone from last place to first place in their division. It did not happen last year because it used to be 16 out of 17. And then this year, the Cincinnati Bengals would be the one team that goes from last place to first place as the NFL slowly legislates parity further out of the sport. So the Bengals might get to be that team this year. Congratulations to them.
I mentioned I was an early adopter on the Colts. I was certainly an early adopter on the Bengals. I'm going to stick with them at this point in the season because they've earned the respect that they're getting. And they're a little bit banged up on defense going into this game. They didn't have Luke Wilson last week. Trey Hendrickson, I believe, will still be out this week as well. So they're not nearly as dynamic defensively as they were. But I'm starting to learn that this Bengals team is a little bit deeper on the defensive line than we gave them credit for initially. We're starting to learn more names, like a BJ Hill comes out and has been one of the better run stoppers in the league. And we're starting to see these guys contribute all over the field for them. Even watching them 2 weeks ago when they played my Niners, I was watching this game. And I'm like, damn, Trey Hendrickson went out, but they're still getting pressure. They're still getting into the backfield. So this defense, they're an AFC North style of defense. That's what I'll say about them. They are built for this division. And if you're talking about just long-term prospects, if you're talking about futures for the Bengals, I think that as long as they maintain a good core, obviously they got Trey Hendrickson on a bargain deal, one of the league's best bargains when they got Trey Hendrickson. If they're able to keep that core around, they're going to have a team that could compete for multiple years. And it starts too with the fact that they have a franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow. We'll see how those wars go over the next few years. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, head to head for years. That could be a fun dynamic. We don't know what the Steelers are going to do. We certainly don't know what the Browns are going to do long term. But I'm confident here today that I say Joe Burrow can be the Bengals quarterback for the next 10 years. We talk about Kyler being the quarterback for the next 10 years for the Cardinals. We should talk about Joe Burrow being the quarterback for the next 10 years for the Bengals. Their Boomer Esiason, I'll give you. It worked. I remember going back to draft day and everyone's like, don't go with the Bengals. Don't ruin your career. Well, Joe, they went in there. They listened to him. He said, hey, I want Jamar Chase. They drafted Jamar Chase. And guess what? Jamar Chase, the last time he faced the Ravens, put up over 200 yards against them. That Ravens defense was a lot better than the Ravens defense that we have here in week 16. That is why I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I think the Bengals are just going to be more dynamic offensively. I know Joe Mixon picked up an injury throughout the week. We'll see his status as he goes into the game day. But even if he's not back, they have a solid back there with Samaje Perine, Chris Evans. They've been able to get production out of. So they're still going to be able to run the ball. And certainly they're going to have no problem passing the ball against the Ravens. And if it is Huntley, backup quarterbacks, they tend to get worse as they play more games. Niners fans, too, can relate with Nick Mullins. Speaking of Nick Mullins being back in the NFL, the more a backup quarterback plays, the worse they get. Tyler Huntley, the best thing that could happen in his career is Lamar Jackson is back this week, and he could capitalize on a big contract in the offseason and not have to play this make-or-break game for the division. I'm on the Bengals. You're on the Bengals.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna reverse course on this one. In the spirit of intrigue, I'm gonna take the Baltimore Ravens to win against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna take a cojones pick this week.
Breaking news: cojones pick of the week.
Yes, we are dropping our tremendo cojones on the table. I don't know why I said that. That sounds weird, but I am dropping the tremendo cojones on this one. I am going to take the Baltimore Ravens, even if I think Tyler Huntley's going to go 8 for 21 with 2 interceptions.
Let's go, guys. Let's go. We're out for blood this week. Juju Talk Sports. Kyle Ledbetter. Even though he's got a lead on me in the standings, and I'm not too happy about that one, but it's
a pretty big lead now. I'm pretty sure. I'm up by a lot.
It's like 4 or 5 games now at this point with 3 weeks to go here. I'm not liking my chances there. Maybe I rebound in the playoffs. Who knows?